We've got some breaking news now. In brand new financial disclosure statements, Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas is now acknowledging controversial luxury trips in 2019 paid for by billionaire Harlan Crow.
A billionaire named Harlan Crow is flying Clarence Thomas all over the world on unreported trips like an Instagram model, taking Clarence to the Maldives and the beaches and all. Paid for his mama's house, this billionaire. Paid for Clarence Thomas' mama's house.
Clarence Thomas has received an estimated $4 million in gifts, much of which, as you see between those two colors, right, undisclosed and disclosed, almost half of which, maybe 40% of which, was never disclosed. And that's all that we know so far, by the way. There may be more undisclosed.
I gotta give it up to billionaires. Billionaires, boy, y'all are relentless. Y'all always come up with something new to buy. Like, just when you think of everything you could buy on Earth, a billionaire will come up with a new thing. Y'all buy space rockets, you bought Twitter. This man bought a Supreme Court justice.
What's up, everybody? Major Retired Richard Ojeda here, and in a clip from the White House Correspondents Dinner, where comedians often roast political figures and current events, Roy Wood Jr. began by addressing the recent controversies surrounding Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas.
Do you understand how rich you have to be to buy a black one on top of that? There's only 2 in stock. And Harlan Crow owns half the inventory.
Wood humorously talked about the ridiculousness of the lavish gifts Clarence Thomas and his wife Jenny have received. From vacations to expensive wine, Jenny and Clarence Thomas have definitely put the coup in couple. Clarence Thomas is a sellout that needs to be impeached. His wife needs to be held accountable as well. Wood's funniest moment of the night was probably this one-liner that summed things up quite well.
We can all see Clarence Thomas, but he belongs to billionaire Harlan Crow. And that's what an NFT is.
This comparison between the lifestyles of the rich and famous and the everyday struggles of normal people couldn't be more clear. Clarence Thomas couldn't care less about poor people either. Hell, he supports a wannabe dictator who wants to abolish all forms of birth control while forcing children to have children. Thomas supports a guy that wants to cripple unions and punish the LGBTQ community while giving capital insurrectionists a free pass. The disconnect can be summed up in a punchline. Think about what Wood said. Imagine getting a ride to work on a private jet just because you rule on some cases. Yeah, imagine being a compromised sellout that Anita Hill warned us about decades ago. We should have realized it then, but the Republican spin machine made her into a liar. Imagine that. Roy Wood Jr. had everybody laughing with his roast of Clarence Thomas, but his jokes hit on some real issues.
Y'all give it up for Dark Brandon. I'm happy to be here. Oh, real quick, Mr. President, I think you left some of your classified documents up here. You can get to the... No, don't give them to him. I'll put them in a safe place. He don't know where to keep them.
Speaking of which, there's big news today. Senate Democrats are asking for a special investigation into Justice Clarence Thomas. They're concerned about the pricey trips and gifts he's received from billionaire Harlan Crow, which add up to over $4 million.
Now, 2 Democratic senators who've been probing Thomas's gifts are asking Attorney General Merrick Garland to appoint a special counsel to investigate him, writing, "We do not make this request lightly. The evidence assembled thus far plainly suggests that Justice Thomas has committed numerous willful violations of federal ethics and false statement laws, and raises significant questions about whether he and his wealthy benefactors have complied with their federal tax obligations. Presented with opportunities to resolve questions about his conduct, Justice Thomas has maintained a suspicious silence."
This raises serious ethics concerns about whether it's appropriate for a Supreme Court justice to accept such lavish gifts. We all know it's not. So why is Clarence Thomas getting away with it? To give you some background, Clarence Thomas has confirmed that Harlan Crow paid for luxurious trips in 2019. These aren't your typical holiday getaways either, folks. Think private jets and Fantasy Island. And it's not just 1 or 2 gifts. We're talking about gifts valued at more than $4 million. This situation has sparked a debate about ethics and transparency in the judiciary, prompting Senate Democrats to call for a special counsel to look into these matters. It's a significant development that could have major implications for the credibility and accountability of our judicial system.
So when these judges won't answer questions about what they knew about their wife's role in insurrection activities, or when they make false statements about what was the justification for flying MAGA battle flags, there's no accountability to the truth. And of all the people to be not accountable to the truth, Supreme Court justices would seem to be the worst of all.
When a Supreme Court justice accepts such extravagant gifts, it means that he can be bought and put in the pockets of billionaires. Justice Clarence Thomas's acceptance of luxurious trips and gifts funded by billionaire Harlan Crow and confirmed by Thomas himself have led Senate Democrats to request a special counsel to investigate the matter thoroughly. It's essential that our judicial system remains above reproach to maintain public trust. The credibility of our highest court depends on the justices' integrity, and it's sad to say that integrity is in the minority on the Supreme Court. Corrupt justices help elect corrupt presidents and push dangerous agendas like Project 2025. Think about this. The Heritage Foundation, which is pushing this dictatorship manifesto, wants to abolish the National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration during what's predicted to be a strong hurricane season. The stakes are high. As Kevin Roberts, head of the Heritage Foundation and architect of Project 2025, has stated, we are in the process of the Second American Revolution, which will remain bloodless if the left allows it. What kind of traitorous nonsense is this? These individuals claim to support and defend the Constitution, but in reality they're racists, Nazis, homophobes, and religious zealots who cannot be allowed to regain power on any platform. As Joy Reid aptly pointed out, we need to support candidates who are against Project 2025. From the top to the bottom, from school boards to governors, we cannot let supporters of this horrific agenda take hold in our country. If Donald Trump somehow wins, we can kiss our democracy goodbye. And with sellouts like Clarence Thomas enabling the dictatorship on the Supreme Court, we will watch the end of the great experiment that our founding fathers envisioned. And that is an absolute fact. Sappers clear the way, airborne all the way.